Well, in the U.S. city of Charlottesville, Virginia, a man accused of ramming his car into pedestrians is due in court via video link this hour. Now, he was part of the white supremacist protest group. Those hit were protesting against hate. One woman was killed and at least 19 people were injured. The suspect faces several charges, including second-degree murder. Well, our Kaylee Hartung joins us now from Charlottesville. And Kaylee, this was meant to be a protest about removing a local monument, but many people came from all over the U.S. to protest. We now know this suspect wasn't even from Charlottesville. What can you tell us?
Well, James Alex Fields grew up in Kentucky. He traveled here from Maumee, Ohio, in the Toledo, Ohio area. We are learning more about this man. It was interesting to hear from his mother in the moments after she learned of the charges against her son. She said she knew that he was traveling to Virginia for a rally. She was vaguely familiar with the nature of it, but she said she'd never really discussed her son's political views with him. That being said, we're getting a very vivid description from a high school history teacher of Fields.
He had some very radical views on race. He was very infatuated with the Nazis, with Adolf Hitler. He also had a huge military history, especially with like German military history in World War II. But he was pretty infatuated with that stuff.
Derek Weimer, the history teacher you heard from there, says Fields' views were apparent as early as his freshman year of high school. It was his junior and senior year that Weimer was his teacher. Through those years, they developed a rapport, and Weimer tried to separate him from those ideas of hatred and racism. He says he tried to use historical examples to show Fields why Nazism, white supremacy, those ideas were wrong and incongruent with American values. But in learning of this, he says he believes he failed. He called this a nightmare scenario.
Yeah, absolutely horrific, especially for the victim of this, that poor woman. But this particular case will not only be investigated on a local level, but also on a federal level. The Justice Department has opened a civil rights investigation. What will it look at?
Well, we've just learned that the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, as well as the FBI Director, Christopher Wray, will be meeting with President Trump in an hour or so to brief him on the status of this investigation. No motive has been determined just yet, Linda, but a source in the Department of Justice familiar with this investigation says that they have gathered enough evidence to be suspicious that Fields wanted to send a message and not just harm the immediate victims of that attack. That investigation will, of course, continue with the backing of the Department of Justice and all of its resources. That attack, Linda, leaving one dead, Heather Heyer, a 32-year-old woman of Charlottesville, 19 injured. And we now, last report, heard that 10 of those victims remain in good condition and 9 have been released from the hospital.
All right, Kaylee Hartung, you've been doing some great reporting there over the weekend. Thanks for joining us today. Well, the Charlottesville community is coming together to remember a vibrant life cut short that Kaylee was just mentioning, the 32-year-old Heather Heyer killed in that car ramming attack. One of her close friends attended Saturday's counter-protest with her and says they were there to spread love. Now, she opened up about her friend's death on CNN a short time ago.
Heather wasn't over-optimistic about the world like I am. She had a quirky way of dealing with the hate that she knew that was going on in the world. And she felt bad for people who weren't like her and didn't grow up like her, and minorities and people of other races and religion that have to deal with hate every day. And she hated it, and she made sure that she stood up for it, and she spoke for people even if they didn't want to speak for themselves.
Everybody knows.
This is her quote. That's
her
what she
quote?
said.
Oh, that's what she said.
Well, she didn't say it, but she would always say it. She strongly believed in it.
I got you.
She thinks it's ridiculous that people are still thinking that racism isn't a problem in America, that it isn't resurfacing. It's resurfaced.